Have you ever walked through a nursery, saw those stunning, vibrant flowers, brought them home, and watched them melt under the sun within a single week? I used to do that all the time. I spent hundreds of dollars on showcase plants that were pampered in climate-controlled greenhouses only to fail in my real hot backyard. It's frustrating, and it makes you feel like you don't have a green thumb. But here, at No Secret Gardening, I've learned the hard way that the problem isn't you. It's the plant choice and the lack of protection. Today, I'm giving you a solution that will change your garden forever. I promise that by choosing the right perennials today, you will have a garden that handles summer and gives you harvest for months, blooming for at least 9 months of the year with almost zero replanting for the next 3 years. Before we even look at a single flower, we need to establish our signature rule of thumb for this season. Please write this down or keep it close to your heart. If the soil is scorching, the leaf suffers even with water. We often think that more water is the answer to a wilting plant, but if the roots are literally boiling in hot soil, all that water just turns into steam and rots the plant from the bottom up. To make sure we aren't making that mistake today, let's start with a practical proof. I call this the midday soil test. Right now, or tomorrow at noon, go out to your garden or your pots and place the back of your hand directly on the soil or the mulch. If you can't keep your hand there for 5 seconds because of the heat, your perennials are in danger. This is why we focus on perennials that can handle high-intensity light while we work on cooling their feet. Another quick check you should do right now is the 3-finger moisture test. Instead of looking at the surface, stick your index, middle, and ring fingers into the soil up to the second knuckle. Often, the top looks dry, but it's wet underneath. Or worse, the top looks wet because you just sprayed it, but it's bone dry at the root level. If it's dry at the second knuckle, your plant is thirsty. If it's wet, leave it alone. No standing water is the rule. We want damp, not drowned. Now let's talk about our first heavy hitter for 2026, the Echinacea, or coneflower. These are the kings of the heat-tolerant world. What the seller at the store doesn't tell you is that the highly hybridized neon-colored ones are often weaker. I tend to stick with the classic purple or white varieties because they are rugged. They are known for being an important source of nectar for bees. Usually, people buy them in full bloom and they wilt the next day. Here is the fix. When you plant them, if they are already flowering, cut half of those flowers off. It sounds painful, I know, but it tells the plant to stop showing off and start building roots. Let's look at our first decision map for the Echinacea. If you have a small backyard with full sun all day, plant these directly in the ground with a thick layer of straw or wood chips around them. If you are in an apartment or have a pot-only garden, you must use a deep terracotta pot. Avoid black plastic pots at all costs in the sun. They act like little ovens for the roots. In a pot, these plants generally need water every 2 days, whereas in the ground, once they are established, they can go a week without you even looking at them. The backyard reality of the Echinacea is that it won't look like a magazine cover every single day. Some leaves might get a little crispy at the edges, and that's okay. That is a sign the plant is toughening up. How do you know it's working? Look at the center of the flower. If it's firm and the pollinators are visiting, your plant is winning the battle against the heat. I've seen so many people give up on perennials because they buy them at the wrong time or treat them like annuals that you just toss away. But the secret isn't just the plant. It's how you prepare the environment before the heat wave hits. I lost a lot of money until I discovered the master error that almost everyone makes with the most popular purple flower in the world, and I'm going to reveal that mistake in the next part so you don't lose your garden this summer. I mentioned that I lost a lot of money before I figured this out, and it mostly happened with lavender. We all love that Mediterranean look and the calming scent, But lavender is the diva of the perennial world if you don't understand its secret. The master error that kills lavender in most backyards is kindness. We water it too much, we fertilize it too much, and we put it in rich, heavy soil. Lavender doesn't want a spa day, it wants a rocky hillside. If you see your lavender turning gray or wilting while the soil is wet, you are likely suffocating the roots. Remember our signature rule: if the soil is scorching, the leaf suffers even with water. But with lavender, we add a second layer. No shelter in the soil, no drama in the leaf. This means the soil needs to be open, so air can reach the roots. If you are in a scenario with heavy clay soil in a small backyard, do not plant lavender directly in the ground. Instead, build a small mound of sand and gravel or keep it in a pot with extra drainage holes. Here is a practical proof for your existing plants, which I call the leaf test. Take a leaf from the bottom of the plant and squeeze it gently. If it feels mushy and comes off in your hand with a yellowish tint, you have pooled water at the roots. If it's brittle and snaps like a dry twig, it's thirsty. In most cases, perennials in 2026 are dying from wet feet because people are overcompensating for the heat. Always remember, no standing water, always drained, no pooled water. Now, let's talk about a plant that is much tougher and often overlooked, the agastache, also known as hyssop. This is an absolute magnet for hummingbirds and bees. It's known for having a strong nutrient profile for the local ecosystem. What they sell you in the showcase is a perfectly pruned, upright plant. What happens in your backyard is that it might get a bit leggy or floppy. The real adjustment needed here is a midsummer haircut. If you prune back the top third of the plant in early summer, it forces the base to thicken up, making it much more heat-resistant. Let's look at the decision map for agastache. If you are in a full sun all-day environment, this plant is your best friend. It loves the heat. If you are in partial shade, it will still grow, but it might not flower as much. For those in an apartment, agastache works beautifully in a long rectangular planter on a balcony railing, as long as it gets at least 6 hours of light. I've been gardening for years, and if I could go back and give myself one piece of advice, it would be this: stop buying fertilizer and start buying mulch. We spend so much time looking at the flower that we forget the soil is the engine. I used to think a bare, clean-looking garden bed was a sign of a good gardener. I was wrong. Bare soil is dying soil. In 2026, with these rising temperatures, your perennials need a blanket. Whether it's dried grass clippings, straw, or wood chips, keep that soil covered. If you are finding this helpful and want to dive deeper into how to plan your entire year without the guesswork, I highly recommend checking out our guide, No Secret Gardening. It's designed to walk you through these seasonal shifts so you can grow with confidence and stop wasting money on plants that aren't right for your zone. We've covered the divas and the magnets, but there is one plant that is practically immortal. It's the one plant I recommend to everyone who says they have a black thumb. It survives neglect, intense heat, and even poor soil, but there is a 10-second rule you must follow to keep it from taking over your entire neighborhood. I'll show you exactly which plant that is and how to manage it in the final part. The immortal plant I promised you is the sedum, specifically the upright varieties like Autumn Joy or the lower-growing stonecrop. If you've ever felt like you couldn't keep a plastic plant alive, this is the perennial for you. It's a succulent-type plant, meaning it stores water in its thick, fleshy leaves. It's known for being an important source of late-season nectar for butterflies when other flowers are already fading. But here is that 10-second rule I mentioned. Once a week, spend exactly 10 seconds looking at the very base of the plant where the stems meet the soil. Because it stores so much water, it's susceptible to rot if the drainage isn't perfect. If those 10 seconds show you firm, green stems, you are golden. If you see mush, stop watering immediately and let the soil dry out completely. Now, let's bring everything together with our final decision map so you can walk into your garden tomorrow with a clear plan. If you are in a full sun all-day scenario with high heat, your champions are the Echinacea and the Agastache. They love the light and will reward you with months of color. If you are working in partial shade, perhaps a spot that only gets morning sun, focus on the sedum or even some varieties of heuchera, which offer incredible leaf color even without the flowers. For my pot and apartment growers, remember the lesson of the oven effect. Use terracotta or light-colored ceramic pots. Your best choices are lavender, provided you use a very sandy potting mix, and the smaller dwarf varieties of coreopsis. These give you that wildflower meadow look on a tiny balcony. And if you have a small backyard with tough, compacted soil, don't fight it. Plant the Gaillardia, also known as the blanket flower. It's a short-lived perennial that reseeds itself, meaning it creates its own backups for the following year. As we wrap up, I want you to have a checklist of signs it's working, so you don't stress over every yellow leaf. First, look for new growth at the center of the plant. If the middle is green and pushing out tiny new leaves, the root system is healthy. Second, observe the pollinators. If bees and butterflies are visiting, the plant is producing enough energy to share, which is a huge win. Third, use that back-of-the-hand test we talked about. If your mulch is keeping the soil cool, even when the air is hot, you've mastered the most important part of 2026 gardening. Always remember our signature rule. If the soil is scorching, the leaf suffers even with water. You can have the best irrigation system in the world, but without that protective layer of mulch to keep the roots cool, your perennials will always struggle. We want to move away from the showcase style of gardening where everything looks perfect but dies quickly. We are building something real, something that lasts, and something that feeds the life in your backyard. I've made every mistake in the book. I've drowned my lavender, I've let my echinacea fry in black plastic pots, and I've wasted money on miracle fertilizers that did nothing but burn my plants. But that's how I learned, and I'm here to make sure you don't have to go through that frustration. Gardening should be your therapy, not your second job or a source of stress for your wallet. If this approach makes sense to you and you're tired of the perfect but impractical advice out there, please subscribe and join our community here at No Secret Gardening. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which of these plants are you planning to add to your garden first? Or maybe you have a survivor plant that handled the heat better than expected. Tell me about it below. Share this video with a friend who thinks they have a black thumb. Let's show them that with the right plant and a little soil protection, anyone can grow a beautiful, resilient garden. Thank you for spending this time with me and for caring about your local ecosystem. Every perennial you plant is a small victory for the bees, the soil, and your own peace of mind. I'll be back soon with more practical backyard-tested tips to help you succeed. Grow with ease, smarts, and love. See you next time.